Picture this. You wake up tomorrow and nothing works. No lights, no phones, no water flowing from your tap. The stores are empty, the streets are chaos, and suddenly every rule you followed your entire life means nothing. When society crumbles, and history shows us it can happen faster than you think, survival isn't about playing by yesterday's rules. It's about adapting to a world where normal doesn't exist anymore. Those friendly neighbors, they might now guard their resources like fortresses. That corner store you trusted, cleaned out in hours by desperate crowds. The government services you relied on, gone without a trace. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When the system fails, the people who survive aren't always the most law-abiding. They're the ones who understand that in a crisis, conventional wisdom can be a death sentence. Today, we're exposing 10 survival tactics that authorities don't want you to know about. Some are banned, others are restricted. A few might already be hidden in your basement. But when push comes to shove, these forbidden strategies could mean the difference between making it through the chaos or becoming just another casualty. Are you ready to learn what it really takes to survive when the world turns upside down? Point 1. Stealth mode living. The art of invisible survival. When disaster strikes and power grids fail, your biggest enemy isn't the cold or darkness, it's being noticed. While your neighbors stumble through pitch-black homes, your generator hums quietly outside, and your solar backup keeps the lights on. You feel victorious, but you've just painted a massive target on your back. The problem with traditional emergency preparedness is that it makes you stand out. When everyone else is living in darkness, your illuminated windows become a lighthouse for desperate people. They're advertising that you have resources when others don't. This is where blackout concealment becomes your secret weapon. True blackout concealment goes far beyond pulling curtains closed. Professional-grade blackout requires multiple layers of light suppression. Start with military-grade blackout curtains that completely eliminate light bleed. But don't stop there. Add reflective emergency blankets behind the curtains to bounce any remaining light back inside. For windows facing high-traffic areas, consider installing removable black foam boards that you can quickly mount during emergencies. Heat signatures present an even bigger challenge. Modern surveillance drones equipped with thermal imaging can detect your warm house from miles away. The solution involves redirecting and masking your heat output. Move all heat sources toward the center of your home, away from exterior walls. Install thermal barrier materials on walls and ceilings. Even reflective car windshield shades can help diffuse heat signatures when strategically placed. Your chimney becomes a dead giveaway if you're running a fireplace or wood stove. Install a chimney cap with heat diffusion properties and consider burning only seasoned hardwood that produces less visible smoke. For generator exhaust, extend the pipe underground before it vents, allowing the hot gases to cool before reaching the surface. Sound discipline is equally critical. Muffle generator noise with custom-built sound enclosures using mass-loaded vinyl and acoustic foam. Run your generator only during specific hours when ambient noise levels are higher, like during rainfall or when traffic patterns provide natural sound masking. Remember, this isn't about permanent lifestyle changes. It's about having the capability to disappear when circumstances demand it. Point 2. Liquid gold collection. Underground water independence. Water is life, but collecting it from the sky can land you in legal trouble. Across numerous states, rainwater harvesting faces restrictions because water rights laws treat falling rain as belonging to downstream users. Colorado, Utah, and Nevada have particularly strict regulations. But when municipal water systems fail and store shelves are stripped bare, these laws become meaningless. The key to successful covert rainwater collection lies in scale and stealth. Forget about massive above-ground tanks that scream, "Look at my water supply." Instead, focus on distributed collection systems that blend seamlessly into your property's natural landscape. Start by modifying your existing gutter system with hidden diversions. Install Y-connectors inside your downspouts that allow you to switch between normal drainage and collection mode. During dry periods, water flows normally. When you need to collect, flip the internal switch to divert water into your hidden storage network. Underground storage offers the best concealment. Dig collection pits in areas that won't raise suspicion. Under garden beds, beside sheds, or in areas that naturally collect water anyway. Use food-grade plastic barrels or purpose-built underground cisterns. Connect multiple containers with PVC piping to create a gravity-fed distribution system. For apartment dwellers, vertical collection becomes essential. Create removable rain sleeves using waterproof fabric that channels water from balcony railings into collapsible storage containers. Disguise collection buckets as planters or storage boxes. Use clear plastic sheeting to create temporary rain collection surfaces that can be deployed during storms and quickly stored afterward. First flush diverters are crucial for water quality. The first gallon or two of rainwater washes debris, bird droppings, and other contaminants off your roof. Install simple diverter systems that automatically discard this initial flow, ensuring cleaner water enters your storage. Filtration becomes your insurance policy. Multi-stage filtration using sediment filters, activated carbon, and UV sterilization can make rainwater safer than what comes from aging municipal pipes. Keep filtration equipment portable and inconspicuous. A gravity-fed system hidden in a basement or closet can process hundreds of gallons without drawing attention. Gray water recycling extends your supply even further. Water used for washing dishes or clothes can be filtered and reused for non-drinking purposes. Simple cloth filtration followed by sand and charcoal layers can clean gray water enough for irrigation or cleaning. Point 3. The silent energy revolution. Power without detection. Electricity transforms from convenience to survival tool when the grid dies. Communications, refrigeration, medical devices, and security systems all depend on reliable power. But stockpiling batteries, fuel, and solar equipment often violates local regulations and attracts unwanted attention from both authorities and desperate neighbors. The art of power hoarding requires strategic thinking about storage, generation, and consumption. Visible solar installations announce your energy independence to everyone within sight. Instead, consider ground-mounted panels hidden behind privacy fencing or deployed only when needed. Portable solar blankets can generate substantial power while remaining completely invisible when stored. Battery storage presents unique challenges. Traditional lead-acid batteries are bulky and require ventilation. Lithium systems offer higher density but cost significantly more. The solution often involves distributed storage, smaller battery banks hidden throughout your property rather than one large, obvious installation. Store batteries in basement rooms, under stairwells, or in custom-built enclosures that double as furniture. Fuel storage requires extreme discretion. Above-ground fuel tanks advertise your preparedness level and become prime targets for theft. Underground storage offers security but requires proper containers and ventilation systems. Rotate gasoline stocks every 6 months to prevent degradation and add fuel stabilizers to extend storage life. Generator selection focuses on noise reduction and concealment. Inverter generators run much quieter than traditional models, but even these need sound suppression. Build custom enclosures using mass-loaded vinyl, acoustic foam, and proper ventilation. Underground installation eliminates most noise issues, but requires professional installation and ventilation systems. Power management becomes critical for maintaining your invisible profile. High-draw appliances like electric heaters, microwaves, or power tools create detectable electromagnetic signatures and consume fuel quickly. Focus on efficient LED lighting, communication devices, and essential equipment only. Use timers and smart switches to minimize unnecessary power consumption. Alternative energy sources diversify your capabilities. Hand-crank generators, pedal-powered systems, and thermoelectric generators can supplement your main power supplies without creating detectable signatures. These systems work silently and can operate indefinitely with human power input. Load balancing prevents system overloads and extends equipment life. Never run generators at full capacity for extended periods. Cycle between different power sources to prevent any single system from standing out. During critical periods, use power only for essential functions, saving recreational electronics for safer times. The ultimate goal isn't just having power when others don't. It's having power without anyone knowing you have it. This invisible energy independence becomes your greatest strategic advantage when civilization's infrastructure crumbles around you. Point 4. Phantom defense systems, the art of non-lethal deterrence. When society collapses and law enforcement vanishes, traditional security systems become useless. Your alarm company isn't coming, the police aren't responding. Your home becomes a sitting duck, unless you can make intruders think twice before getting too close. This is where phantom defense systems shine, creating the illusion of danger without crossing into lethal territory. The psychology behind effective deterrence is simple. Most criminals are opportunists looking for easy targets. They want quick access to resources without complications. When your property suggests it might fight back, they typically move on to easier prey. The key is creating believable threats without actually deploying anything that could seriously harm someone. Sound-based deterrents work exceptionally well in post-collapse scenarios. Trip-activated devices that produce gunshot sounds, screaming alarms, or aggressive dog barking can send intruders running before they even get close to your door. You can construct these using motion sensors connected to speakers, or even simple mechanical systems like cans filled with marbles that create startling noise when disturbed. Visual deterrence adds another layer of psychological warfare. Dummy cameras with blinking LED lights, fake security system signs, and even cardboard cutouts positioned in windows can create the impression that your property is under constant surveillance. The goal isn't to fool professional criminals, it's to make desperate, hungry people think your house is too risky compared to the abandoned property next door. Misdirection tactics prove incredibly effective for protecting your real supplies. Create obvious storage areas filled with low-value items, old clothes, empty containers, or expired food. Wire these decoy locations with noisemakers or pepper powder dispensers. When someone breaks into your food stash and gets a face full of cayenne pepper or triggers a car alarm, they'll assume your defenses are everywhere and retreat. Perimeter defense focuses on early warning rather than stopping power. Fishing lines stretched across pathways at ankle height won't seriously injure anyone, but it will create noise when disturbed and potentially cause stumbling. Empty cans dangling from nearly invisible thread create early warning systems that alert you to movement around your property. Environmental manipulation can make your property seem less attractive without obvious defensive measures. Broken glass scattered in non-essential areas, thorny bushes planted near windows, and strategic placement of hazard signs suggesting contamination or structural damage all contribute to the impression that your location isn't worth the trouble. The beauty of phantom defense lies in its legal ambiguity. You're not setting lethal traps, you're creating deterrent effects that protect both your property and potential intruders from more serious confrontations. Point 5. Underground pharmacy. Medical resources, when systems fail. When hospitals shut down and pharmacies are looted bare, medical emergencies don't stop happening. Infections, injuries, and chronic conditions continue demanding treatment regardless of societal collapse. This creates one of survival's most challenging dilemmas. How do you access life-saving medications when traditional medical infrastructure no longer exists? The reality about medication expiration dates differs dramatically from common assumptions. Most medications don't transform into poison the day after their expiration date. The FDA requires expiration dating for potency guarantees, not safety warnings. Studies conducted by the military's Shelf Life Extension program revealed that over 90% of tested medications retained full potency years beyond their printed expiration dates when stored properly. Antibiotics, pain medications, antihistamines, and many other essential drugs maintain effectiveness far longer than their labels suggest. The key factors are storage conditions. Medications kept in cool, dry, dark environments last significantly longer than those exposed to heat, humidity, and light. Vacuum-sealed packages extend shelf life even further by preventing oxidation and moisture exposure. Veterinary medications present another controversial but potentially life-saving option. Fish antibiotics like fish mox, amoxicillin, and fish flex, cephalexin, contain identical active ingredients to human prescriptions. The manufacturing standards for aquarium medications often match pharmaceutical-grade requirements, since fish are sensitive to impurities. While veterinary products lack human dosing guidelines and safety information, the underlying chemistry remains the same. A 500 mg amoxicillin capsule works identically whether it's labeled for fish or humans. The difference lies in dosing calculations, contraindication awareness, and proper administration protocols. Knowledge becomes your prescription pad in these scenarios. Understanding how to calculate dosages based on body weight, recognizing drug interactions, and identifying allergic reactions can mean the difference between effective treatment and dangerous complications. Medical references, drug identification guides, and dosage calculators become invaluable resources. Alternative sources of medical supplies extend beyond traditional pharmacies. Farm supply stores carry many medications in different packaging. Dental supply companies sell antibiotics and pain medications. International pharmacies operating online often provide access to prescription medications without traditional prescriptions, though legal implications vary by jurisdiction. Building relationships with medical professionals who understand preparedness becomes crucial. Veterinarians, dentists, and nurses often have access to medications and supplies unavailable to the general public. These professionals may be willing to provide guidance or even supplies in true emergency situations. The ethical considerations around accessing medications through unconventional means depend heavily on circumstances. Taking expired medications from your own medicine cabinet during a disaster differs significantly from raiding veterinary supplies under normal conditions. The collapse of medical infrastructure changes the risk-benefit equation dramatically. Point 6. Tactical obscuration. Controlling visibility and movement. When lawlessness takes hold and dangerous groups roam freely, being seen becomes your biggest liability. Traditional home security focuses on detection and response, but in a collapsed society, your best defense is often being overlooked entirely. This requires mastering tactical obscuration, the art of controlling what others can see and where they can go. Smoke deployment offers immediate tactical advantages when properly executed. Simple smoke generation using household materials can create confusion and concealment without requiring military-grade equipment. Oil-soaked rags in metal containers, sugar-based smoke mixtures, or even commercial smoke devices designed for special effects can produce dense clouds that disrupt vision and force people to move cautiously. The psychology of smoke works on multiple levels. It suggests active defense, creates uncertainty about what lies beyond the cloud, and makes navigation difficult for anyone trying to approach your property. Smoke doesn't have to be toxic or harmful to be effective. It simply needs to eliminate the advantage of clear sight lines. Strategic deployment locations maximize smoke effectiveness. Positioning smoke sources at property boundaries, in alleyways, or near potential approach routes creates choke points that funnel movement away from your location. The goal isn't to trap intruders, but to encourage them to find easier targets elsewhere. Soft barricading techniques focus on redirection rather than absolute blocking. Moving obstacles slightly off their normal positions creates the impression of abandonment or previous conflict without requiring massive construction projects. Shopping carts positioned across driveways, furniture blocking sidewalks, or debris scattered strategically all suggest that your area has already been processed by other groups. Vehicle-based obstacles prove particularly effective because they appear natural in post-disaster scenarios. A car parked at an odd angle blocking a street looks like normal breakdown or abandonment. Positioning vehicles to create visual barriers and force pedestrian traffic into longer routes makes your property less appealing as a target. Camouflage principles apply to entire properties, not just individual hiding spots. Breaking up the recognizable outline of your home using tarps, vegetation, or strategic placement of objects makes it blend into the background. Paint schemes using earth tones and organic patterns help structures disappear from casual observation. Light discipline becomes critical for maintaining invisibility. Even small amounts of light leakage can attract attention from miles away when everyone else is living in darkness. Professional blackout techniques involve multiple layers of light blocking, heat management, and careful timing of any illumination use. The concept of gray man principles applies to entire properties. Just as individuals can blend into crowds by avoiding distinctive appearance, homes can become invisible by appearing unremarkable or already compromised. The most secure location often appears to be the least valuable one. Movement control extends beyond your immediate property. Understanding how people naturally flow through neighborhoods allows you to predict and influence traffic patterns. By making certain routes more difficult or less appealing, you can guide potential threats away from your location without obvious confrontation. Point 7. Ghost Protocol. Mastering invisible presence in urban collapse. When civilization crumbles and predators roam freely through abandoned streets, your survival depends less on what you carry and more on how invisible you can become. The most dangerous mistake survivors make is looking prepared, resourceful, or confident. These traits that serve you well in normal times become death sentences when desperation rules the streets. Urban camouflage isn't about military fatigues or face paint, it's about psychological invisibility. The goal is to trigger absolutely no interest from anyone scanning for potential victims or resources. This means embracing the appearance of someone who has already lost everything and poses no threat or opportunity to others. The foundation of Urban Ghost Protocol begins with strategic degradation of your appearance. This goes far beyond wearing old clothes. You need to look systematically defeated. Start with clothing that tells a story of struggle. Pants with strategic tears at the knees, shirts with dirt ground into the fabric, shoes that look worn beyond repair but still provide adequate protection. The key is making these items look naturally weathered rather than artificially distressed. Layering becomes crucial for both protection and disguise. Multiple thin layers allow temperature regulation while creating the bulky, disorganized appearance of someone wearing everything they own. Mismatched colors and patterns suggest scavenged clothing rather than planned preparation. A torn outer jacket over a stained sweater over a faded shirt creates visual complexity that screams nothing valuable here. Body language transforms your entire presence. Confident posture, direct eye contact, and purposeful movement all suggest someone with resources, plans, or skills worth exploiting. Instead, practice the shuffle walk of exhaustion, slightly hunched shoulders, downward gaze, and movements that suggest you're conserving energy for basic survival. Your pace should appear unhurried but not lazy, as if you're moving because you have to, not because you have somewhere important to be. Facial expression control adds another layer of protection. The 1,000-yard stare of trauma, hollow cheeks emphasized with strategic shadowing using dirt or charcoal, and the general appearance of someone who has seen too much can make others instinctively avoid interaction. Practice expressions in a mirror until they become natural. The goal is looking haunted rather than suspicious. Props enhance your invisible status. A crude walking stick suggests injury or weakness. A plastic bag containing obviously worthless items like empty bottles or torn fabric reinforces the impression of someone surviving on scraps. Bandages, even fake ones, suggest medical problems that others might fear contracting or consider a liability in group dynamics. Scent management becomes important in close-quarters urban environments. While you want to appear unwashed, actual poor hygiene creates health risks and can be detected from distances that compromise your stealth. Strategic application of dirt, ash, or other odor-masking substances can create the appearance of neglect without actual cleanliness risks. The psychology behind Ghost Protocol recognizes that humans instinctively categorize others within seconds. By triggering the not a threat, not an opportunity, avoid interaction response, you move through dangerous areas without attracting the attention that gets people robbed, recruited, or eliminated. This invisible presence allows you to gather information, access resources, and navigate hostile territories that would be impossible for obviously prepared individuals. Point 8. Shadow highways, navigation through forbidden territory. When main roads become killing fields and traditional routes turn into ambush zones, survival depends on your ability to move through spaces others never consider. Shadow highways represent the hidden circulatory system of urban and suburban environments, pathways that exist in the margins, invisible to casual observation but accessible to those who understand how cities really work. These routes require extensive pre-planning and reconnaissance that must happen before crisis strikes. Walking shadow routes during normal times allows you to identify potential obstacles, mark reference points, and develop contingency plans without the pressure of immediate danger. This preparation phase is critical because memory becomes your only navigation tool when GPS fails and written directions become security risks. Urban shadow routes exploit the forgotten infrastructure of modern cities. Utility corridors run beneath most metropolitan areas, providing access to tunnels, maintenance shafts, and service roads that bypass street-level dangers. Storm drainage systems create underground highways that connect neighborhoods while remaining invisible to surface surveillance. These systems often link to industrial areas, shopping centers, and residential zones through networks most people never realize exist. Above-ground alternatives include the vertical landscape most people ignore. Fire escapes, loading docks, rooftop access, and maintenance catwalks create elevated pathways that avoid street-level threats entirely. Many commercial buildings connect through shared walls, maintenance areas, or parking structures that allow movement between blocks without exposure to open streets. Understanding these connections requires studying building layouts, fire codes, and architectural patterns during peaceful times. Property boundaries become fluid during collapse scenarios. Private yards, vacant lots, abandoned buildings, and industrial sites all become potential route segments when survival is at stake. The key is understanding which properties offer genuine concealment versus those that create exposure risks. Fenced areas may provide privacy but can also become traps if they lack multiple exit points. Open fields offer speed but eliminate concealment options. Timing becomes crucial for shadow route success. Movement during peak chaos, when sirens are blaring, crowds are distracted, or emergency responders are overwhelmed, provides natural camouflage for unconventional travel. Weather conditions like rain, fog, or snow can enhance concealment, but also create navigation challenges that must be planned for in advance. Route planning requires multiple alternatives for every segment. Primary paths should be supplemented with secondary and tertiary options that account for different threat scenarios. If your main route crosses a bridge that might be blocked or destroyed, you need alternative crossing points or completely different destination approaches. This redundancy prevents route failure from becoming mission failure. Caching supplies along shadow routes extends your operational range and provides emergency resources if primary plans fail. Small supply drops at key points, food, water, medical supplies, or tools, can make the difference between completing your journey and becoming stranded in hostile territory. These caches must be concealed from casual discovery, but remain accessible to you even under stress conditions. Communication protocols for shadow route travel differ significantly from normal movement. You can't rely on cell phones, GPS, or other electronic systems that might be compromised or non-functional. Pre-established check-in points and timing windows allow others to track your progress without electronic signatures that could reveal your location to hostile forces. Point 9. Community defense networks, unofficial security in lawless times. When official authority vanishes and emergency services stop responding, communities face a stark choice: organize collective defense or face individual destruction. Neighborhood checkpoint systems represent one of the most controversial yet effective survival strategies that emerge during societal collapse. These grassroots security networks operate outside legal frameworks but often become the only barrier between functioning communities and complete chaos. The formation of community checkpoints typically happens organically within hours of recognizing that outside help isn't coming. Residents who may have barely spoken to each other suddenly find themselves united by shared vulnerability and mutual dependence. The psychology driving these formations is simple. Isolated families become easy targets, but coordinated neighborhoods create security through collective strength. Effective checkpoint systems require careful organization to avoid the common pitfalls that transform protection into oppression. Leadership structures must be established early with clear chains of command, defined responsibilities, and accountability measures. Without these systems, checkpoints quickly devolve into armed chaos where personal grudges and power struggles undermine the original protective mission. Geographic positioning determines checkpoint effectiveness. Control points must be placed at natural bottlenecks, bridge entrances, road intersections, or terrain features that funnel traffic through predictable routes. The goal is creating multiple observation points that provide early warning while maintaining communication between positions. This allows coordinated responses to threats while preventing easy bypassing of security measures. Personnel rotation prevents the burnout and poor decision-making that comes from extended duty periods. Checkpoint duty is mentally and physically exhausting work that requires constant alertness and sound judgment. Establishing shift patterns, rest periods, and relief protocols ensures that your security personnel remain effective rather than becoming liability risks due to fatigue or stress. Rules of engagement must be clearly defined before any confrontation occurs. What constitutes a threat? When is force authorized? How are disputes resolved? These decisions cannot be made in the heat of the moment when adrenaline and fear cloud judgment. Written protocols, even informal ones, provide reference points during tense situations and help maintain legitimacy within the community. Resource management becomes critical for sustainable checkpoint operations. Food, water, fuel, and ammunition must be allocated fairly while maintaining operational security. Communities that fail to address resource sharing often see their defense networks collapse due to internal conflicts over supplies. Transparent distribution systems prevent favoritism and maintain morale during extended operations. Intelligence gathering transforms reactive checkpoints into proactive security systems. Monitoring radio communications, tracking movement patterns, and gathering information about threats in surrounding areas allows communities to prepare for problems before they arrive. This intelligence function requires dedicated personnel and communication networks that extend beyond immediate checkpoint positions. Diplomatic protocols determine how checkpoints interact with other organized groups, legitimate authorities, or hostile forces. The ability to negotiate, communicate, and de-escalate situations can prevent unnecessary conflicts while maintaining security objectives. Some of the most successful community defense networks develop reputations for reasonable but firm boundary enforcement that discourages testing while avoiding unnecessary violence. Legal considerations become important when official authority eventually returns. Communities that maintain detailed records of their activities, decisions, and justifications often fare better during post-crisis investigations than those that operated without documentation. While survival takes priority during collapse, planning for eventual accountability helps ensure that protective measures don't become permanent problems. Point 10. Deep storage protocol. Creating invisible supply networks. When your primary stockpile becomes compromised through theft, fire, or forced evacuation, your survival depends on resources that exist outside any obvious location. Underground caching represents the ultimate insurance policy, supplies that can outlast disasters, searches, and time itself when properly executed. This strategy transforms vulnerable centralized storage into distributed, invisible networks that provide long-term security regardless of surface-level disruptions. The science of underground preservation requires understanding how different materials interact with soil, moisture, temperature, and time. Container selection becomes the foundation of successful caching. Your supplies are only as good as the barriers that protect them from environmental damage. Military surplus ammunition cans provide excellent starting points, but they must be modified for extended underground storage. Proper sealing techniques go far beyond simply closing a lid. Professional-grade caching uses multiple barrier systems: desiccant packets to control moisture, oxygen absorbers to prevent oxidation, mylar bags for additional protection, and foam padding to prevent damage from container movement. Each layer addresses specific failure modes that could compromise your supplies over months or years of underground storage. Location selection determines both security and accessibility of your caches. The ideal spot must be memorable enough for you to find years later without being obvious enough for others to discover accidentally. Natural landmarks that appear permanent can actually change over time. Trees die, streams move, buildings get demolished. The most reliable markers are geological features that remain stable over decades. Geographic distribution prevents single points of failure from destroying your entire backup network. Creating supply clusters in different areas, some close to home for quick access, others farther away for long-term security, ensures that local disasters can't eliminate all your resources simultaneously. Each cache should serve specific purposes rather than trying to duplicate your complete supply list in every location.